My name is Brad Bonnett, and I am the Senior Director of Product Management for Google Distributed Cloud, and I'll be one of your hosts today.
And I'm Ankur Jain. I'm the other host. I am the VP of Engineering for GDC.
Perfect. Oh, yeah. So we'll get started. Not only are you going to get to have Ankur and I on stage today, but we're also going to have a number of customers come up and talk about their journey with Google Distributed Cloud. So we'll have Jarrett, who's the Chief AI Officer for Orange.
And we'll have Navin, Anandaraj, who is a technical fellow at Genuine Parts Company.
So before we get started, I think it's good to base ourselves with Google Cloud and to understand that Google isn't your typical cloud provider. We serve some of the world's top applications, serving billions of users every month with our own Google services. We are one of the largest carriers in the world of the world's internet traffic, serving videos from applications such as YouTube and our own Google Cloud customers. And we spent over 20 years building this infrastructure, and we've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in open source technologies, in our operational practices, in security, and in building fully autonomous applications. And our worldwide footprint spans 40 regions, 121 zones, 187 edge locations, and we're proud to be carbon neutral since 2007. So why does that matter? It's because all of this builds into how we help you develop and deploy your applications. However, we also know that not all workloads can move to our global hyperscale regions. For example, regulatory compliance. We have customers like the US Department of Defense, the governments in Singapore, in Luxembourg, who all have particular regulations and compliance that say their applications need to be in a very specific location or a specific security protocol that doesn't fit our regions. We also hear from customers like McDonald's that their application in their stores have to be able to survive with or without internet connectivity. And the same goes for bandwidth. We have customers who are deploying hundreds of cameras in their data centers, in their warehouses for safety and security, in their retail locations, and they can't send all of that video streams up into the cloud to then process it. And lastly, we have manufacturing customers who need real-time processing for their IoT devices to make sure their manufacturing lines stay up and running at the quality that they need. And so all of these things mean, how do we help customers solve this problem? So what we've heard is customers are looking for a hybrid architecture. They want to be able to deliver their applications in the locations that they need, not just what is dictated by where our hyperscale regions are. They want to have those same economics and ability to turn on and use managed services that they're used to enhance their developer productivity. And they need to do this not just for their greenfield applications, but also side by side with their existing brownfield applications. Because we can't all just develop new applications. We have to continue to modernize and to run our applications with the legacy that we have. All of this needs to, of course, be centered around new innovations around data and AI and meeting those strict regulatory needs that I talked about. So with that, we built Google Distributed Cloud. And we launched this a number of years ago. You can kind of think of it as a right-sized cloud deployed in your location on physical hardware. It's optimized and hardened to meet your needs. And it brings a fully managed private cloud infrastructure and services into your premises. This enables you to run everything you can this enables you to run everything you can in our hyperscale regions and everything you can't on Google Distributed Cloud, making it easy for you to modernize and scale your applications, to build with the flexibility that you need to meet your business goals, and know that Google is taking care of your security, those operational elements to build and manage that infrastructure underneath so that your developers can focus on what empowers your business versus just keeping the lights on. So,
can you folks hear me? Yeah. So let me give you folks a quick overview of the technology, and we'll be digging in deeper into some of these areas later on in this session. So look, the stack uses prescriptive hardware options optimized for the industry, the use cases, as well as the compliance needs. We support the latest generations of GPUs as well as CPUs. We have a Linux-based host OS, which elsewhere we use to deliver our own consumer services. And it can run both VMs and containers. And we use GKE Enterprise to manage the full lifecycle management of the Kubernetes runtime. The stack is built for data and AI. We are bringing many of the best of Google's data, analytics, and AI capabilities to GDC. And while we'll be talking a little bit more later on in the session, just briefly, this includes Dataproc, Managed Kafka, Alloy DB, Vertex AI, the Model Garden, task-specific models, open source foundational models, as well as AI solutions both from Google as well as from our partners that would make use of these capabilities. The GDC stack takes a zero-trust approach, and security is built in as opposed to be bolted on as an afterthought. Security constructs around data, around network applications that are baked into the end-to-end stack include access controls. It includes monitoring, auditing, and compliance. And we provide hardware and software supply chain security. Look, over the last 15 years, we built systems to manage the life cycle of thousands of Google Global Caches distributed all around the world. Google Global Caches are these servers that we deploy in ISPs, serve YouTube content closer to the users. And over those last few years, we have evolved that system and took learnings from it to form the basis of GDC's fleet management system. This includes like the full lifecycle management of the hardware and the software infrastructure and services, from deployment, patching, upgrades, logging and monitoring, configuration management, and so on. And look, as Brad said, we know that not all customers have the same needs, the same constraints in terms of regulatory compliance. And that impacts the requirements for operations and connectivity to the internet. For customers who can be connected to Google Cloud, they get a single pane of glass to manage their hybrid deployments, spanning from Google Cloud regions to GDC, for services spanning from IAM, monitoring, logging, as well as fleet management that I just talked about, and all managed by Google SRE teams. And with customers still, having the controls such as survivability, multi-party authentication, as well as access transparency. But customers can also deploy GDC in a fully air-gapped mode, where these operations infrastructure and teams are deployed on-prem.
So we wanted to start off and baseline a little bit about GDC before we started going into where we're going. And so now in this section, we want to give you an idea of how we're approaching developing, what we're hearing from our customers and why, and how that's driving our roadmap in 2024 and beyond. So there's 4 main themes that we're going to talk about. The first, of course, is the thing we see everywhere in the world, and especially at this conference. It's AI anywhere. And AI doesn't have to be location or vendor specific when it comes to model development, training, and tuning. We are developing a consistent fabric of AI capabilities that extends our cloud infrastructure with GDC to bring you that Vertex AI and open source capabilities all into your enterprise or public sector or private data centers. Next, we're going to talk about security, because it's the basis of everything that we do. Security isn't something we do just once, but we're continuously investing in it to make sure we're staying ahead and that we're fighting on your behalf to keep your applications and your platform safe. Next, we'll go into scalable and flexible. How are we building and designing GDC to meet you where you are? One thing that's a little bit different from being in our cloud regions is we kind of say metal really matters. How do we minimize how much you have to deploy into your restaurant, into your data center? Because that drives cost for you and for us. So how do we give you the right sizes and shapes to enable your applications to maximize performance while minimizing cost? And how do we allow you to do that when and where you want, whether that's across 10,000 or 30,000 stores or across a data center with 100 racks? And lastly, we'll talk about modernization and legacy support. Because as I said, we know this is not just greenfield. And what we consistently hear from customers is, I want to do the new, but how do I sustain the current and the old? And so how do we allow you and your teams to operate those legacy applications in parallel while developing new best-in-class modern architectures and modern services? So first, we'll go into AI anywhere. And over the past several years, Google Distributed Cloud has continuously invested in our AI and ML services, providing you with powerful out-of-the-box AI tools and capabilities like speech-to-text, optical character recognition, and translation through our pre-trained APIs. And these features have enabled businesses to automate processes and empower customer transactions effortlessly. On top of those features and pre-trained APIs, our Vertex platform takes it a step further by offering you the tools to create custom ML and AI models like pipelines and prediction, allowing you to build tailored solutions that meet your unique business needs. And while we initially brought these services to our air-gapped deployments, we are excited that later this year, you will be able to deploy these same services in our connected deployments. And moving forward, we will have this parity across our different deployment models so that independent of how you need to deploy GDC, you will be able to get those same services, features, and functionality. And so we've continuously heard from customers that not only do they want these features, but they need these services to be able to deploy ready to go in production-level enterprise environments. That means it has to meet their compliance, their security, their policy. And with GDC, all of that is integrated from the beginning. So it makes it easy for your developers to go from an idea to production. And the journey with AI continues as our customers, we are continuing to hear that they're looking to use generative AI and those capabilities. So I'll let Ankur talk a little bit more about what's coming up.
Yeah, so just in terms of what are the services we are bringing in, look, the philosophy over here was we need to make sure that any, as AI developers or as developers who are building in AI applications, you need a bunch of different capabilities, whether it is to collect and transform data, or whether it is to store and query that data. And so for these, we are bringing in services like Managed Kafka or Dataproc, which is Managed Spark. We are bringing in AlloyDB, as well as working with many partners in the ecosystem, bringing in their databases, which have capabilities for vector search databases. We're bringing in Object Store. We are also bringing in Vertex AI, and with that, the Model Garden. It will have task-specific models, but it also has foundation models, including Gemma, that we talked about yesterday at the keynote. And using all of these capabilities, developers can then stitch together and build the AI solutions that matter most for your enterprise. And we are seeing customers use a combination of these capabilities that exist on GDC, as well as that exist on GCP cloud regions, to best fit their particular needs. So as an example, there would be some customers who would, who let's say, want to do a lot of data processing in cloud regions, but have some sensitive information in one of the fields. So they could do pre-processing of those data fields on GDC and then send the anonymized data streams over to Google Cloud region and then do processing, let's say, on BigQuery. Or let's say you have a bunch of video streams, but a very thin pipe connecting the GDC back to Google Cloud region. So what you could do is use the vision capabilities on-prem and then only send the frames of interest back to cloud regions. Or let's say you're an enterprise with very strict regulatory and data locality needs, and you need to deploy some sort of an enterprise search solution, then you could run the entire RAG using a combination of some of the capabilities that we talked about on this slide, running all on-prem. And so for that, to demonstrate that, let's watch this quick video, which is a retrieval augmented generative enterprise search solution for a regulated industry running on GDC.
This is a demo of the Google Distributed Cloud Generative AI Search Package solution. Imagine I'm a cybersecurity officer at FinCorp, a global financial services company. Our partner sent us a physical copy in French of new PCI regulatory requirements, and our proprietary solution FinInsights that handles sensitive financial data will need to comply with them. Let's start by going to the GDC Gen AI search solution and uploading a picture of these new requirements so we can better understand them. In a few seconds, the image is converted to text, translated to English, and ingested to become immediately searchable. We can now go back to the chat interface and simply ask it to list these new requirements. The search agent seamlessly replies with relevant information it retrieved from the newly uploaded image. Next, because our products and specs live in the same GDC air-gapped environment due to the highly sensitive nature of the data and our proprietary technology, we can naturally follow up and ask where we have gaps in compliance. Backed by our open-source LLM Gemma, built from the same research and technology used by Gemini, GDC will analyze dozens of pages of our solution tech specs, both text and images. Then it will compare this against the new PCI requirements. As you can see, it found a few significant security gaps related to requirements 8, 10, and 11. The response also includes references to the original documents, so we can confirm the information provided is accurate. For requirement 11, we can see that Gemma correctly identified a gap regarding security tests due to the lack of frequency details in the architecture diagram in the technical specifications. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. I hope you like this. Well, with that, I'd like to welcome Steve Jarrett from Orange. Steve.
Thanks, Ankur. Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Steve. So, Steve, I think your journey as the Chief AI Officer at Orange has been really interesting. What have been some of the challenges that you face at Orange dealing with data and compliance?
Before I talk about that, I want to say thanks to the two of you because it's really felt like over the last few years that we've worked as a single engineering team. And you've been great at listening to our challenges and coming up with really innovative solutions. So thanks a lot.
And thanks for the partnership.
So we have 26 countries ranging from France to Egypt to the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the variety of regulatory environments is very, very complex. And those are always changing. The second challenge is that each of these countries had their own on-premise infrastructure that had been integrated over many years and was extremely difficult to maintain and was aging. And we also had very few GPU instances, and those also didn't really have uniform means of monitoring and managing them. For on-premise data, just the network telemetry data, so that's the data that's coming off the network that we use to monitor and manage the network, that's over a petabyte a day. So there's no way we're sending that to BigQuery. So having something that we can run in each of our own data centers that can filter on that data, and also some of that data is protected or restricted by regulatory. And so the idea that we can also do sensitive AI operations there on-premise is really powerful. And then lastly, we want to be able to do real-time inference on some of that data, like speech data and other data that, for regulatory reasons, can't, again, go to public cloud.
And so these data and AI capabilities in GDC, what are some of the challenges? What are some other challenges that it is helping you solve?
So, the first thing is we have all of these different infrastructures are so complex that having a managed hardware and software solution that allows us to manage all of the data storage and data operations that we have to do has really simplified our operations, and it allows our teams to have uniform skills, which before was also very difficult to maintain. Secondly, in terms of Vertex, having not only the first-party Google models, but also the ability to use the state-of-the-art open weight models is really powerful. And Google's not only willing to provide great tooling, but also managed versions of some of the services that you saw, like Kafka, but also on AI, managed versions of the leading open source tooling. And that tooling we see moving incredibly quickly. So we're really happy to see that the Vertex team is really open to innovating on their first-party solutions, but also on open source. And then we're also seeing, because of the obvious interest in the kind of success of the platform, there's an ecosystem building of many companies coming with solutions that we can choose from, that we would not have been able to do with our own build solution. And so it's a really appealing solution for us, but mainly it's about generating value. So the idea that now my data engineering teams, as opposed to just keeping the lights on, like you said, Brad, they can focus on generating value is transformative for the business.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Steve. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And we'll have you back on for Q&A later.
OK, thanks.
Thank you.
So we talked about AI, but the same thing we hear about AI, the next question you hear about is privacy and security. And so in an ever-changing world, security threats are constantly evolving. And customers are increasingly seeking zero-trust security models from their service providers. This approach is built on the principle that no entity is trusted by default, whether inside or outside the network. So key components of our security principles we here include strict identity verification, least privileged access, end-to-end encryption of both the data at rest and in transit, and continuous monitoring. And this isn't a one-time investment, but an approach where you have to continuously invest in security, adapting to these new threats. With GDC, we have built a comprehensive zero-trust security framework and defense-in-depth architecture. We leverage the unmatched expertise of Google and Mandiant security professionals and their decades of experience to inform our security blueprints, providing you with proven, robust solutions to secure your assets and minimize overall attack surface areas. We do this to ensure your data and applications are protected against the latest security threats. And with our ongoing commitment to security investment, we give you peace of mind that enables you to focus on your core business.
So let me run through some of the underlying security capabilities that we have on the platform. For IAM, we support multi-factor authentication, federated identity integration, as well as both role-based as well as attribute-based access controls. We provide a boundary proxy and bastion host to audit and control GDC management plane traffic. In terms of controlling keys and data, GDC provides a dedicated key management system per organization, customer-managed encryption keys, and a centralized X509 certification authority. GDC safeguards data both at rest and in transit. And for for hardware and software supply chain security and integrity, we enforce source and build integrity, binary authorization, as well conduct continuous runtime malware and vulnerability checks. We're introducing a managed intrusion detection and prevention solution that integrates Palo Alto Networks, threat prevention technology, and helps monitor the north-south traffic as well.
I want to talk a little bit about deployment and scale. And so in this one, flexibility is vitally important, as we talked about. So how do we meet the important needs of your use cases with the minimum footprint size? So one of the things that we announced at Next is GDC now has a one-node offering on top of our three-node that we launched and GA'd earlier this year. So that, as well as with our three-node and our one-node, both will come with the option of adding GPU support. And what we continue to find from customers is they need that flexibility. Some of our customers, such as McDonald's, wants the three-node because they want that high availability architecture on-premise to ensure their application and their restaurants are always running. Other customers have different architectures from their applications and don't need that level of redundancy on-prem. Next, for customers deploying in data centers, we know that one size fits all from a rack perspective doesn't solve every problem. So we're bringing new modularity to our rack designs, allowing you to pick and choose the right amount of compute, storage, networking, scalability to meet your particular needs. All of this, like Ankur said, with the latest x86 chip architecture, as well as H100 GPUs, and we'll continue to invest in our chips and GPUs, bringing you those latest technologies. So with that, I'd like to welcome Navin up to the stage from Genuine Parts Company. Welcome, Navin. I trust you're having a great show so far.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Brad. And thanks, Ankur, for having me.
So I think it'd be good to help everyone know, what does Genuine Parts Company do? And what are some of the challenges that you've been looking to solve with GDC?
Sure. So Genuine Parts is a global service organization specializing in the distribution of automotive and industrial replacement parts. And we have, in the automotive business alone, we have nearly 10,000 stores where we sell over 1 million parts globally. And out of these, 6,000 of these are in North America, which most of you are probably familiar as the Napa Auto Parts. And across all of these stores, or majority of our stores, we have a single monolith application today that runs and supports both our selling functions and our store operations. It's been serving very well for us for many years. But today, our IT team manages the hardware upgrades and refreshes and all the operating system installs and patches across all of these locations. Now, that requires a lot of coordination with our store associates. It's operational heavy lifting. And also, there's a recurring cost, which is incurred every year on an ongoing basis. So what we're looking for is more like a managed platform, which can do that infrastructure heavy lifting across all of our distributed locations so that our IT team can focus on more business value needs. Also, our business is moving very rapidly, and they're asking for new capabilities, whether it is providing more dynamic and granular pricing segmentation for our customers, or doing more frequent catalog updates and refreshes, or streamlining our back office functions and operations. Now, there's only so much that we can do with the constraints, with the technology constraints that we have currently. So what we need, or what we are looking for, is more of a modern platform that has the capacity to expand at each of our locations so that we can deploy workloads at scale to meet these growing business needs.
Yeah.
So Navin, I know that at one point in time you were considering between whether to deploy one server or 3 servers in your stores. How did you think about the trade-offs, and what have you decided?
Yeah, good question. So, we started a pilot in one of our stores in Atlanta, and we started with a 3-node cluster at that time because that was the only option we had, and the pilot worked well for us. But as we think about going beyond the pilot and scaling across our 6,000 plus locations, we need to optimize for cost, space, and capacity. So we are definitely considering the one node option and really looking forward to that launch, because the one node cluster is going to give us the it's going to give us the smaller form factor that we need. It fits well with the space constraints that we have across majority of our stores, reduces our total cost of ownership, simplifies our architecture, and also improves our performance. So really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Navin. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ankur, and thanks, Brad.
My dad was worked in a parts store when I was a kid, so it's fun to see the whole thing come full circle and get to work with Napa Auto Parts. So he's been very excited about that particular collaboration that we've been on. So next, I want to talk a little bit, I guess this is last but not least in terms of our roadmap. The last one we talked about was modernization and legacy support. So modernizing your private environments should be a simple journey, right? And what we hear from customers is modernization is expensive. And how do I do it easily and effectively and at my own time to maximize or to minimize my TCO and maximize my application development for my business needs? And so we know the world of on-prem deployments today has VMs, and this is consistently between retail, enterprises, manufacturing, and there's a lot of legacy infrastructure out there. And so how do we take advantage of cloud technologies and the efficiency that customers get with containers and continuous deployment and continuous integration while also maintaining those legacy VMs at the same time and make it easy from an operational perspective? With GDC, we've been working on giving you a single platform where all of your workloads, old and new, can run in the same ecosystem. So your teams can work on the same systems, the same management tools like GitOps, and your VMs and your Kubernetes systems are all part of a unified control plane, which means you can manage them both together, making it easy for you to migrate to GDC and then modernize in place.
All right, so that I can get a moment to complete my conf.
I'll take.
We'll play a very cool demo that shows you GDC's architecture and how it helps you with these modernizing in place journeys. Why did you play that? And
this demo shows modernizing in place with Google Distributed Cloud. It begins with a legacy service running across 2 virtual machines that we've already migrated into GDC, one front-end Windows VM and one back-end Linux VM. The left half of my screen is a developer workspace, and the right half is a Chrome remote desktop logged into the Windows Server VM. First, we'll list the VMs, and you can see the running state for both VMs. Now, in the Windows VM, we'll launch a script that will make continuous web requests to the backend server, simulating a service dependency. The backend is responding and everything is working. The legacy VM service is migrated and running in GDC. For completeness, I'll open a connection in the web browser as well. Now that everything is working, it's time to modernize. But I only want to modernize the backend system. To get started, I'm going to shut down the backend VM by simply changing the running state. As expected, the front-end service can no longer connect. Of course, in production, you do this with a hot changeover to avoid service interruptions. I'll briefly bring up the YAML for the container deployment and want to show you 2 things here. The first is because VMs and Kubernetes share the same environment, making these 2 systems talk to each other is really easy. All I have to do is specify a DNS registration in my deployment. Similarly, because this is Kubernetes, I can get things like a load balancer for free just by asking Kubernetes for one. Now we close the YAML and deploy. The container is already deployed ahead of time, so I just need to apply the DNS setting. We'll do a quick fast forward to let the DNS propagate. You see the front end is connecting again without requiring any modifications or config changes. We can also visit the web browser and see it's being served by the new container backend. This demo shows how easy it is to have your VMs on Google Distributed Cloud and then modernize the pieces you want at your pace to take advantage of the power and scalability of our Kubernetes platform.
There you go. We're building a full-feature VM system that meets the customer needs, whether that's legacy small-scale VMs or that's heavy-duty enterprise workloads like SAP or Citrix VDI. We have migration tools. We have enterprise VM management features, advanced networking functionality, as well as GPU support. Having VMs and containers in the same environment, as the demo shows, lets you use your common network layer, common IAM, access controls, and security processes. And in addition to KRM APIs, we also have CLI as well as Web UI console for ops management.
So, to wrap it all up, we talked about a number of things. We started off, just gave you a baseline of what is Google Distributed Cloud, why did we build it, and how will we continue to evolve the platform. Next, we went through kind of the 4 pillars that we look to continue to invest in and why. We talked about AI Anywhere, which isn't just about LLMs, but it's about a whole ecosystem of services and support to make sure you can run your enterprise applications and enterprise AI services. We talked about secure by design, and that is not just an afterthought for GDC, but it's built from the ground up with zero trust in mind. We then went into scalable and flexible architectures and how we're adding new types of hardware as well as software to allow you to do fleet management at scale, to pick the right node or the right configuration for your particular application. And finally, we closed off with modernization, showing you that demo on VMs and showing how you can develop container applications and your legacy VM applications at the same time in the same ecosystem, making it easy for you to modernize in place and continue to run and support your legacy applications as you find the right time to modernize those. And so, last but not least, we didn't go into too much depth today, but let's not forget an incredible ecosystem of partners that we continue to add to the GDC ecosystem, many of which are probably in the audience today, and you can see out on the floor throughout the expo. So hopefully we've helped you have a better understanding of how GDC works and where we're going as you continue to build your on-premise environments.